So on this do-it-yourself portion of Apocalypse Auto, I'm going to give you a more in-depth look of how I built the rooftop tent for my K5 Blazer. First thing I did was go to Goodwill and I found this big old tent for $8, and of course it was missing some parts and it had a couple broken pieces, but for what I was using it for, it was absolutely golden. So here's my incredibly well drawn plans for my rooftop tent. My roof rack is 4 foot 6 inches by 7 foot 4 inches, and it tapers in at the end. So I had to go get some particle board that was 4 by 8, and then to widen it a little bit, I got some 1x1s and some 2x6s. So after cutting my particle board from 8 foot down to 7 foot 4 inches, I had to taper it in at the top because of the way my roof rack is shaped. So I just put my cut down piece of particle board up onto my roof rack so that I could take a Sharpie marker and then mark exactly where I needed to cut these things to taper in. So the next step was to cut down my 1x1s and put them as close to the edge of my particle board as possible, and then put some screws up through the bottom of the particle board into the 1x1s, so then I could put the 2x6s on the outside of the particle board and put some screws through the 1x1s into the 2x6s to make my solid frame that will sit snugly inside my roof rack. Try saying that 10 times fast. So after getting the rest of the 1x1s and the 2x6s cut down and put into their place, I had to cut down the rest of my particle board to make the lid for the top of my rooftop tent. And then I just added a couple barn door hinges to the front to make it open and close. I got this piece of 1/4 inch tube and bent it to shape so that it would fold out and wedge up against the edge of my roof rack to keep the lid open, and then when you want to close it, you just push it in and it closes down tight. Then I just used a couple old hotel blankets and stapled them to the top and bottom to kind of make it a more homey feel and to help keep the wind out. And then I took my $8 tent after cutting the bottom out of it and just put it up on top and stapled it into place so that I had this door that would open right up to my tailgate. And then you just tuck it into the roof rack and close it down. You're ready to roll. This whole contraption cost me about $45 to build, and I think it works pretty good. If you saw the last episode of Apocalypse Auto, we went camping out in the snow, and it was probably about 30 degrees all night, and my rooftop tent did great, kept me warm, and I survived.